Góða kvöldið. Yes, and this is supposed to be in English, of course. Very welcome to the Reykjavík Art Museum. My name is Sigurður Traustason, and I am Head of Collections and Research here at the Reykjavík Art Museum. Usually my colleague Markus Thor does this, but he has taken ill and just gives his warmest regards to all of you. But I'm happy to be here to welcome you to the museum and the first of the talk series of the year. The talk series being, as many of you of course know, a visitors program in collaboration between the Reykjavík Art Museum, the Icelandic Art Center, and the Icelandic Academy of the Arts. Yann Toma is, amongst many things, an artist, a professor at Sorbonne University, and an artist observer at the United Nations. I look very much forward to hearing his talk, and I think we're off to a very good start for the talk series this coming winter. And just on a final note, of course, the museum is open until 10 tonight, and we have exhibitions on the second floor. And please enjoy the night, and I'll give the microphone over to Yann. Please, welcome.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much for all of you made to prepare that intervention, and I'm really happy to be with you tonight. First of all, I would like to thank you for your inviting me and to immerse myself in the culture of the contemporary Icelandic art. Thank you, Art Center. Thank you, Margaret Ólafsdóttir. Thank you to Odur Jorud-Zostóttir. Sorry for my pronunciation, and thanks to Markus Thor Andresen and all the team thank you very much for all the preparation. I'm very happy of that, and thanks to my colleague and friends for the Institute and Alliance Française to be there tonight too, because it's very important for me to make a link, of course, between art, French art, but it's an international art I'm doing, I think, for a long time, because I'm spending time mid-part in France, but mid-part in New York too, and moving a lot in many countries. And but I'm in charge of, in the part of the democratic energy. There is, as a citizen of France, there is something I think we can learn and share too. And it's very important for Europe to be there tonight for me too. And it's very important to talk about you, about my art, and about my process of creation. The process of creation is very linked with the notion of energy. Today, through the representation of some of my work, I would like to share with you the framework of my artistic research and the direction of tries and researches I try to take. From the outset, the framework of my work has been traversed by the relationship we have as humans and animals, embodied by bodies and constant evolution with the notion of energy, a commonality capable to elevating us to another degree of consciousness. And I wanted to try this evocation with polarities, and with two polarities. That polarities were shown by a certain Nikola Tesla in the beginning of 20th century, not to be confused with the man who recently usurped his name to sell cars. It's not the same, of course. And then this is very important for me to talk about this relation energy between several places, between two continents. And in the middle, there is, for me, of course, your country, but this is like this is permitting the relation with the both polarities Nikola Tesla showed. He wanted to connect through Atlantic, New York to Le Havre, and maybe there was a dimension with Europe and United States, and that this was a sort of image. And if you look to that image, then you see Iceland. And here is a photography I made in 2005. This is in La Trapejargue. Then in La Trapejargue, the western point of Iceland, there is an electrical transformator, and there is birds. And I decided to name La Trapejargue as the headquarters of Ouest-Lumière, which I will be telling you about shortly the story, because I know that La Trapejargue is the largest bird cliff guillemot, and other cliff birds number in millions. Then there is many birds in that place, but there is, of course, many energy of animals energy, and many ideas I transmitted with my mind. When I was in Iceland in 2005, and I began to make some experimentations, this was with a lamp. This was with the idea of what was for me Iceland, and many stories I heard about that. Then I was reading books about elves. Then, for example, I made a captation with that strange rocks near La Trapejargue, and I made a lot of series of photos at that moment. This was very amazing because it was a kind of reflection about how I can fix my mind and my imagination in your country, but how I can explore what I met when I was 6, because I came at 6 in Iceland, and but this was only for a short travel. But I was very inspired since that period. Then you can see here, it's in Iceland, and you can see a sort of materials that are connected by solar system, and it reminds me something which is really the base of my work. The beginning of my work is the discovering of an ancient company which name was Ouest-Lumière. Ouest-Lumière, this was the ancestor of EDF. EDF is now the company of France, but this was a private company. At that moment, there was North-Lumière, East-Lumière, South-Lumière, and West-Lumière. As you know, I have a compass always with me. Then this was the idea of the 4 cardinal points and direct direction. And because of situationists, because of many researchers, many artists and poets, I decided to really base my work in the west part of the mine and the creation, and this was Ouest-Lumière, the name of that company. Then my work has always been revolved around energy, and I decided to explore that Ouest-Lumière. I was 24, something like that, and my base was here in that building. Then this was my studio for 3 years. I was alone in that place, but there were some workers, some electricians, some people from many technical areas, and they showed me a lot of things. And near that building, there was other buildings, and there was a Eiffel building who was destroyed by the machines. And I discovered inside that building shares of Ouest-Lumière. When at that moment, I decided to reboot the name and the mark of Ouest-Lumière in the International National Protection Industrial Organization. And I rebought the name and the mark as an entrepreneur. I rebought the name and the mark of North-Lumière, East-Lumière, and South-Lumière. And this was really amazing because this was not very expensive, but this was really symbolic because it was 37 years after the liberation of the name, because the nationalization of electricity in France was in 1946 after the World War. And then as an artist, it was possible to reboot the name and the mark of a factory, of a company who was so important, so high-level production and distribution of electricity. Then this was amazing. Then I liked that idea of I could do that. And then I decided to, very instinctively, to change the object. Then this was not, at the moment I became president of Ouest-Lumière, the subject was not to produce and distribute electric energy, but it was to produce and distribute artistic energy. When I changed only these words, and in all the subject of that company, this was the case in every element of that paper. Then I think this is an act of concrete transformation of that company from the very engaged company in the pollution with thermic elements for the nature, and to a company which was then based on something unexpectable with that type of company, something very ecological. Then it's, for me, this is my first transition in the sense of transforming something as in a shamanic way, but not as as you will see after. Then I transformed the statutes and I gave a new purpose. Then this is an approach to think how we can transform the society, or we can imagine an industry had existed, but we can imagine other kind of industries and transform that industry into something more virtuous and more connected with nature. Then I decided to think about the concept of artistic energy. And for me, the concept of artistic energy as a practical value for transforming reality incorporates the concept of exosomatic evolution. And this is Lotka in 1934 who has imagined that. It's the idea of incalculable exchange, noetic exchange, which we must develop in the face of, instead of liberalism way, to be very linked with inclusion. And my idea was to do something with that chairs very close to a social sculpture of Beuys, Joseph Beuys, for example. But he has imagined the social sculpture. Then my idea is to think about how we can connect with art, environment, and notion of energy, and with the individual or groups enroll a certain phase of self-transformation, acquire certain artistic potentialities through the experience of the act of creation and the tension between personal and collective wave, and in a transdisciplinary spirit. This was the idea of a new knowledge through the body and through maybe in a D-wave spirit, you know, a sort of kind of transformation of yourself in the contact of the nature. Then this was the idea. And with that shares, I decided to create a tool. Then the tool was action, shares and people. Then I asked to many people to become a stakeholder, someone who can be connected with that company in the idea of transforming their own function in something else inside Ouest-Lumière. And Ouest-Lumière is like a reality fiction, you know. Then in Ouest-Lumière, I have, for example, Francis Kurjan is a perfumer. Francis is a perfumer of Dior and is an entrepreneur in perfume, but he is an artist too. But the artistic part of himself is not developed sufficiently. And then this is a problem, and because we are multiple, we have functions, but we have many capacities inside of us. Then I wanted with Ouest-Lumière to permit to each people who wanted to come to invent his own function, metaphoric function, inside Ouest-Lumière. Then Francis Kurjan, for example, is Grand Ishimi. It's ingénieur de la fragrance indicible et impalpable. It's the engineer of the indicible fragrance and immaterial fragrance, immaterial perfume. And all the persons who are involved in Ouest-Lumière now, there is 440 people, are philosophers, physicians, employees from all the society. And this is really interesting. And every year I'm doing 3 or 4 meetings in some places, and they are coming and we are sharing. And every people in that network, but over, of course, because I was listening to a conference about quantum physics just now, because I wanted to have some elements, because the Étienne Klein, which is a specialist of physics, when we were talking about that in the frame of Ouest-Lumière. Physicians have a certain idea of artistic energy. Archaeologists have a certain idea of artistic energy. Aestheticians have a certain idea. And all the responsible in arts and when everyone has a certain idea of artistic energy, but it's undefined. And I like this idea. And for me, the context is very important. I'm really contextual. Then I will show you very quickly some installations I made. Then this is very important for me to show, for example, to beginning with Cercle de Lumière. It's light circles. Then this is close to the Caucasian circle of Brecht. I was really invested in a reflection about how we can share. There is 3,000 bulbs together, and in the night it's becoming a sort of diffraction and reflection of that light, and you forget all the context around you, and this is creating a new context of the experience. Then you have here several installations with light I made, with a phosphorescent light, with a circulation of light, with scientific elements, with silicates, of sodium silicates. Many elements I used to improve myself with all the question of light. Then I made a lot of installation in the 90s, and in the same moment I made some photographies, portraits of people. Then I wanted to improve several levels of the reality, not only to be focused in making the same thing every time. And I'm coming from a world of entertainment. My parents were dancers. Then light and movement was really important in my focus. And when I was thinking the society and all the problems of the society, geopolitical problem, as a part of kind of like theater. When how can I can invest all that problems of the reality inside a frame of installations. Then after I made, it was in 1997, my first photographies of space writing, inspired by the idea of Man Ray, space writing. And this was a movement of transformation and accumulation of energy in a certain way, but caused by the presence of the people. And this was in Bulgaria, in Plovdiv. The series Plovdivski Noshti. And then this was houses, abandoned houses, and I was living in one of that houses, and because I thought there was many ghosts around me, then I didn't want to sleep the night. Then I became to do some series of photography like that, and then I asked from people to come with me and to be involved in the photography and to encounter some strange persons inside that places. Then this was a right way to connect all that people. And at the end of my residency, which was around three months, I don't know, there was thousands and thousands of people in the opening of the exhibition, photography exhibition. Thousand people, because I have invested all families, people, young, old people. And it was like a sharing of energy in the frame of the culture of Bulgarian Renaissance of the 19th century after the leaving of the Turk. Then this was very interesting to look at that phenomenon, and it was unexpected for me to have all that people. Then in the same moment, I was thinking about how to transform with chemie some essence, chemical elements in plants. Then I made a lot of installations with transformations. At that moment, there was a project with Modern Tate and with phosphorescent possibility. Then this is a maquette, but this was made in Paris 1 year after, and this was shown in Tate Gallery. This was the same moment that when Centre Pompidou became to collect my work, and they decided to collect the first work was with soucoupe volante, with UFOs. It's a transformation of an architecture in UFOs, and this was a reflection about fiction. And I invented a fiction with M cabinet. M cabinet is I cannot describe all, but there is always stories in stories in stories. And this is a very complex system, Ouest-Lumière, where the fictions are always present, but fictions and reality are combined. And there was some photography of exposure too, and I was really interested in that kind of photography. And at a certain moment, Viacom, a company, a French company, proposed me to have 3,000 advertising like that in all the country. This was really interesting. When they say, what do you want to show as an artwork? Then I decided to show advertising, which is showing things about production and distribution of energy, not artistic energy, but it was not for me the idea of talking about artistic energy, much more something like to be a concurrent of real company of electricity, and to show something else that people can imagine with the metaphor of electricity. And at that moment, then I was reading Marcel Mauss, an essay sur le don, form and reason of exchange in archaic societies. And in Marcel Mauss' essay, there was sociology, anthropology. It was published in 1925, and the idea was to give, receive, and redistribute. Then to be like a tool, the body as a tool of reception and redistribution of energy. This idea was really strong for me, and this was connecting me more stronger with Nikola Tesla, of course, with Mesmer, animal magnetism, a theory from the 18th century about the idea, you know, there is magnetism with stones and with the poles, and polarities, but there is magnetism with people. And Mesmer did a theory about that, and people and animals. When we are connected, and in a certain way, when we are more than 12 people, there is something upgraded with the notion of energy and sharing energy. And after 24 people, it's upgraded. And it's always, it's not an addition, it's like a multiplication of energy. Then we are like batteries, you know. And he made a lot of experiences, Mesmer. I was inspired by, of course, the idea. It's the photography, Kirlian photography, and you know it's ionization, and it's the idea there is a scale of electrical energy around our bodies, and we are ourselves as batteries, but we producing energy, and more energy when we are together. Iris, the image of this idea of connection of energy. Artistic energy is for me the same. It's going in the same way. You know, it's really polarities. When sometimes you have strong energy, sometimes you have less energy, but there is a regulation, a collective regulation. As Edouard Glissant, philosopher, said, he was a grand magnat des imprévus in Ouest-Lumière, unexpected events, great magnat. Then he said there was four elements of measure. Then the measure of the measure, this is a classicism. Démesure of the measure, this is a Baroque way. The measure of the démesure is a discovering of the world, like you're discovering the world and you are going out of your measurement and you are going to the démesurement. And there is a démesure of the démesure. And the démesure of the démesure, this is art. This is artistic energy. This is what Edouard Glissant said, the two mondes. It's capacity of connecting everyone in a free way of energy, but not only with no frontiers. At the same moment, I was discovering in near the area of Ouest-Lumière transformators. Then transformators, as this is Ouest-Lumière transformators. Then I rebought that transformator for €1. Then this was part of the activity of old Ouest-Lumière. Then I wanted this building being part of the new activity, but as an artistic resident. And I have several studios. This is a shelter, Ouest-Lumière. It's in center of Paris. This is a place where it contains all the old archives of Ouest-Lumière. And this is a sort of base of historical elements. This is an example. This was an experimentation with connection of bulbs and like tension. There is tension and connection. This is not easy to be connected. And there is always tension and always something happened in trying to disconnect everyone. And it's very difficult to stay connected. Here is Ouest-Lumière, projection of energy agencies. Then I made that in 2000 around. I made a lot of portraits at that moment. There is in Magval the series of Crimes for Order or the Dreams in CAPC. In several museums, I'm showing that kind of portraits. That portraits are very long portraits. For example, I'm spending all the night with a person and I'm reading his favorite book. And at the same moment, I'm photographing the body every hour. And at the end, you have something like converge, and there is a video of that, and you have a convergence between the position of the body and the lecture of the book and maybe what the person has dreamed about. For the Crimes for Order, it's another kind of portrait. People are imagining their own crime, and this is a sort of Montaigne spirit reflection about the limits of our own life and the idea of passing through the idea of death. Then I will show you another time. Then there is here is a part of the exhibition I shown in 2000 about Ouest-Lumière and archives and elements of Ouest-Lumière. There was reflection about organigram and the luciogram I made. This was portraits, huge portraits of people. And I was thinking organigram as a part of the captation of every connections with neurons and of a body, but also souvenirs, stories about every people I was doing a portrait. And this was really complex. At the same moment, I became maître de conférence in Sorbonne University, and after professor and PhD professor. Then I founded a research team about artist organizations. Then I was saying to myself, this is not possible. There is no Ouest-Lumière is not alone. There is many artists are working like as a company, as an organization. Then I tried with some colleagues to find certain models, economical models or ideas was made in that sense from artists. And we found 250 models and 6 typologies, and we connected with 5 kind of generations. This was really interesting to understand that from Fluxus, or even before with Duchamp or with other artists, there was a reflection about how you can be upgraded with an organization like with Itoi Corporation in Switzerland, or Maiwa Denki in Japan, or with maybe you know that artist Dana Wise with Jesus at the Sister Productions. She made, you know, that pills, very activist way. It's very interesting. And then all that companies are still existing. And there is many examples for the companies of the future to earn and to earning this kind of spirit is very interesting for the economy of the future. In the same moment, I was in UN, and I met Ban Ki-moon, and I was very close to the Secretary General, and this was very interesting to think the idea of be involved in UN as a theater. Then I decided to, you know, there is a novel of Romain Gary, L'homme à la colombe. It says it's very difficult to be free when you are a diplomat. You are in a certain way of statement, and in the same way you have your own ideas. When he made a kind of portrait of UN, but with a pseudo, Fosco Sinibaldi, and this was the occasion for him to talk about things he was knowing, but he cannot talk about. And then that kind of novel was really inspiring me as an artist observer. When they gave me the title of artist observer in permanent residence, because when they asked me, what is your project, what kind of project do you want to do in UN, I said, I want to measure the energy of the non-energy which is growing or which is present in UN for 30 years. And they said, this is really original. And I said, I don't want to do an exhibition, I want to do something more useful like that. Then you can see me in a General Assembly, for example. This is my office when I'm going to a General Assembly, or when I'm going to UN. It's an observation place. But as I known recently with scientists, to be observatory, it could be an active way to make this certain kind of decision appear. I'm analyzing some text. I'm creating some connection with that text. I'm doing some elements connected with this experience. And then Ouest-Lumière in this way was for me the occasion to show different kind of ideas about energy and creating a sort of relation with bodies and people. When I made a first installation, it was a dynamo post-bankrupt. This was made with 3,000 people. They were pedaling in a museum, and if they were not pedaling, the museum wasn't alight. And this was really interesting. There was something like 10 bicycles to activate, and if you don't activate that bicycle, all the exhibition wasn't possible. Then people and public was sharing that function of pedaling to permit to other people to see. And there was connection of bulbs everywhere and connecting electricity. Then, at the moment of the catastrophe of of Fukushima, then I decided to think about the project, and a friend of mine who was a stakeholder of Ouest-Lumière told me that there was a possibility to have a Grand Palais. Then he said, you can have 1 week, but there is no budget. And I asked him, okay, then I will find, but promise me 2 things. I want to keep the title of the artwork I will present you, and give me the capacity of have mécénat and sponsoring with the Grand Palais to have the support of companies and associations and NGOs from Japan. And they made that. Then I made that huge installation. This was really interesting. 24,000 people came in Grand Palais in 1 week. And this was the occasion to people who were not involved in the sustainability way, to talk to people who were invested in ecology, and they were pedaling together in empathy with the children and the population of Fukushima area. And we did that with many Japanese people, and there was NGOs around the installation, and NGOs were selling derived products of the NGOs because they were all for sustainability. And people who were pedaling, they came and they bought all that products from NGOs. All the money was has been sending to the Ringono NGO, which was charged to buy some apples in the west of Japan, because apples in the west of Japan they had it had a molecule who can decrease the cesium inside the blood for children, only for children. Then hundred and thousand apples were distributed in the area of Fukushima to children. But you know, of course, this has not resolved anything. But this was the concrete and material consequence of that sharing of energy in the antipode of Fukushima. Then this was the idea that an artwork can mobilize and not only be an entertainment, but could be something who can have a consequence, concrete consequence in another part of the world. Then this is the idea I wanted to share with you too, because this is a sentiment as a citizen I want to develop. Then here is the project I made in north of France, in the east of France. This was the first memorial for the First World War with all the nationalities present in that memorial, but people from A to Z, all the dead persons, and all belligerents together in a circle. And this was the idea of thinking Europe and the memory of Europe in the sense of take care of the dead people, but take care of the future with the idea of creating a virtuous circle of peace. And then that memorial is 300 meters diameter, and it's 450,000 people remained. Here is another project I made because I was connected with UN. It's human energy. It was for 10 years ago for the COP21. When I made the project connected with Eiffel Tower, and in the Nikola Tesla spirit, and this was the idea of making a link between the bottom of the Eiffel Tower and the antenna of the Eiffel Tower as a connecting tool with million people. Then this was connected with an app. The app is a running app, and that running app is connected with 80 million people. Then you can have with that app the calories someone is giving in Australia or in Iceland, in New York, in Papouasie-Nouvelle Guinea, I don't know, then it's connected. And then all the calories with that app, we implemented that app, and million people were okay to transform the calories in artistic energy. Then with mathematicians and an algorithm, we arrived to calculate that, and putting the number of artistic energy numbers in the second floor of Eiffel Tower. It was crazy because it was, in real time. And in the same moment, we were really interested in, because I had a team of 100 people, and this was really interesting. Young architects, mathematicians, entrepreneurs, artists. And this was musicians, and this was really interesting to share all these capacities to imagine what can we do with Eiffel Tower as a tool of transmission of energy. And then we build a sort of base in the bottom, and this was the idea of sharing that energy with, the sentiment of connecting the bodies and also connecting the minds. And with all in that moment, this was really interesting because we had some problem of financing, and of course, because it was a crazy project, then I found people who can help me in US, in NRDC. This is an NGO very connected with sustainability. But there was problems because at that moment in France there was terrorist attack. And this was really rude to keep that desire of making people together and having that problems, of course, of pressure and tension and security. Then we arrived to do that, but this was very, very high level of tension, but this was so great, and we made that. This is the Sustainable Development Goals are really important in my reflection at this period of my life. And when you can see other project, I did a project in Beijing. This was in 2016. This was 42,000 people who were dancing in a place, and all the energy of the dance was giving to light the Dagoba in the Forbidden City. And this was connected with all that fruits for a DG. The DG, the video VGA, was connected with my system, and all the electricity of the VG was creating with all that fruit. And it was really interesting. All that lemons and orange were like elements of captation of that energy. But with Ouest-Lumière, I'm doing a lot of projects. You can see Or Bleu is a perfume, but is a water perfume. You can see then installations I made. You can see CO2 storage with a specialist of storage of CO2. And he's in US. He's really the most important specialist of CO2 storage. And we imagine that we can incarnate that idea of CO2 storage with sculptures. And this, instead of having CO2 in the atmosphere, the idea is to confine a CO2 in something like 100 meters under. And in 100 meters under, the pressure and the temperature is creating a powder, a white powder. Then this is really interesting because it's fixed. It's fixed, and it's really natural alchemy of the material. Then it was interesting me, and the research of some scientists are really interesting me in the way of creating that kind of objects. Here you can see what I would like to develop in Reykjavik and maybe in other part of Iceland. It's a bulb which is communicate with Morse code, but it's code. Mr. Morse was a painter, but he created the Morse code, and Mr. Scott created the light, but for the navigation. And this is long and brief, and each word could be communicated from your home and from your window, and you can say everything you want. And it will be communicated by that tool. And this is long and brief. When I did that with 1,000 people in several kind of part of the world, in India, I did it when at the moment I have a project in New York to pilot buildings, entire buildings with this idea, having like a pulsation of building. But what is interesting in that sculpture, portable sculpture, is that it's something, a message from you. And it's a sharing of ideas and a message, very free message. And here is Ouest-Lumière elements about that object. Because in Ouest-Lumière you have always technical documents. Okay, then what I would like to talk about today, then I have few time now, but it's now you know the spirit what I tried to develop for several decades. Then here is an aura photography. This was made a long time ago. It was very interesting. I was connected with polarities, and colors came around me with its very interesting material. Here is captation of radiance flux, because I try to, in some places, to cure the history of the places. This is, for example, in Warsaw. This is in a European ski hotel. And before the restitution of that building and other buildings, I had the access to repair the energy of the place. Then all the photography I'm doing are connected with the spaces, and sometimes in some places there was many horrible historical things. Then I try to connect the place with the future of the history, future history of that place, and or before the destruction too, because it's not only to repair a place for the commodity. It could be useful only because that place needs to liberate spirits and the stories. For me, this is a quantum spirit of reflection, and I cannot develop now, but I'm really connected with relation between theory of Einstein and Bohr and Bell and all the specialists of that kind of reflection, because quantum physics is really connected now with the imaginary of science fiction, but in the reality too. And you know that the next step, not the next step of IA, but the next step for science will be very connected with quantum physics. Then I think it's very important now to reflect. I have reflections about that as an artist. Here is some Mesmerian elements of the Codex of Mesmer. I used recently for an installation. There were in that installation 5 movies of 1 hour each one, and this is 1 hour installation, and it's in a loop, and it's talking about the 5 elements, and 4 elements, common elements, but the 5th one is etheric elements. Then connecting people, as you see, it's a way of thinking between what Richard Schusterman spell it's soma-aesthetic. Then this is a relation between your mind and between your body. And with some experiences, I try to create a link with that process. And this is why I developed in New York the series of, in my residence in NYU, a series of polarities process. The idea was to think about problems, geopolitical problems, and trying to create a connection very intense in the story of some people who are knowing to each other, but we can share with some process of experimentation their own way of thinking. This was the case with Valeria and Anya and they are twins. And we made some experience with theremin, and they are also connected because they are twins, but this was really interesting to work with them in the way of explore the capacity of what is involved in their own story, because they are Ukrainian and they are refugees. And this was the idea of how we can connect the forces we have inside us to have reflection about polarities. And after that experience, where we made a lot of performance and connections, I tried to develop an installation with a light theremin and with captors, and this was captures of presence of the body, but also something linked with a musical way and with theremin. And we made a lot of relation with that tool. It's like a music instrument, but this is also something to create an energical relation. Here is another artwork I'm showing in this period. Then it will be ending in April. This is connected with ISS, the station, International Station, Space Station. Then that installation is spelling and it's transmitting non-stop the last manifest of all the nations for the peace of 58. Then this is the most important declaration of the countries, of every state of the world about peace. Decrees, of course, the tension between polarities, political polarities before the Cold War, of course. But this was really interesting. Just after the World War, 10 years after, when this was a sentiment that we can do that. And then I wanted to show that in the top floor. It's the electrical leader of electricity in Primo Electricity in Switzerland, in Basel. And this was the idea of transmitting this message. And with a colleague, scientist, which is from the ISS, and then she permit me to be connected with them. Then 2 times per week, they receive the message, and then they transmit to me the translation of the Scott code. This is really interesting because this is like a degree of elevation of the message, and the message is coming back through the atmosphere. It's coming to the world. And this is like a va-et-vient of energy. Then here is a moment for showing you elements about Ouest-Lumière. This is my movie, the movie I'm showing at in the University of Art. And in keeping with my photographic explorations, I present for the first time in Iceland, and this is for 3 months, the capture of unexpected world through a work of active contemplation. This is the idea of atmosphere, active contemplation. That, to be observator, it could be active. It could be in an active way. Then I wanted to create conditions of possibility and present segmentations of energy and the expression in concrete form of an idea of spirituality and heading towards a living nature, a vital impulse. And this is the relation with all that notion of energy. And I was remembering Andy Warhol, Sleep, maybe that movie of 1964. He conceived a filmic experimentation as an anti-film when he was filming his partner sleeping. When it was really emblematic movie, and then with that non-movie, I wanted to do something atmospheric. As an anti-filmmaker, in deploying a total empirical method of observation as much as a quasi-shamanic vision of a world. And the idea was to see the presence of the light of the world and the oscillations between hot and cold, maybe seeing artistic energy, AE, not AI, without AI action, without Photoshop, without nothing, without no transformation. The image of the captations are really concrete. There is only a prism between us and the image. Then this is really interesting to see with a whole method. I arrived to present you something I think very close in material preoccupations I was talking about. And what is interesting, it's a collaborative movie. You will look to that movie with Nathalie Forget. Nathalie Forget she's a composer of Ondes Martenot. She's a mondial specialist of that. But in the future, I will have 2 other composers, one from New York, another one from Warsaw. And I would like to find in Iceland people who are receptive to that kind of image, and maybe who would like to create some sounds and having an interpretation with sounds and compose maybe something. And it should be great. And here is the process. People were wearing a cask. Then maybe we can have the same process now. When the casks are there, you can wear the cask and being connected to the installation. It's full of surprise, and there is fluctuations of moments. Sometimes it's very meditative, sometimes it's very dynamic. And the meditative part will go, because I made a special event for Ukraine, and it will go to Kiev and Odessa to permit to people to, in some cinemas, to be together with a meditative moment. When I have a new presentation in New York in 2 cinemas in March and April. Then it's a new experimentation for me. Duration is very long, and the next step will be maybe about artistic energy with the view of other artists. Then it will be collaborative, and people, other artists will do the image, and we will have a collaboration. It will be a multi work made with several people in all over the world. Because what you have seen Venice, you have seen New York, you have seen Tokyo, you have seen Paris, you have seen Warsaw. I will make some movie in Iceland too, in Reykjavik, but I would like to come back again to do some movies, especially in the winter. I think it's really nice for the light, but without snow when it's not snowing. And when you see it, it's very special because it's not immaterial things. It's the reality, but with prisms. You know, Albicocco, for example, he was a filmmaker, was putting some oils, and Man Ray too was using oils to transform the reality of the image. And I'm doing something else, but this is a kind close to that process. And thank you so much for your attention. And you are very kind because my English is not so good, but I try, and I hope you will understand. You have understand everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yann, for a great insight into your artistic career. I think Margaret Elizabeth was going to have maybe allow you to ask some questions. I guess there are maybe some burning questions, but we do not have a lot of time though. But she's going to do that now.
Or maybe you have questions. Do you have questions?
I will do short answers.
Very short answers. Should I ask one, or are you burning with one? No one wants to. Okay.
I don't know if I need a mic. Thank you for your talk and for your energy.
Thank
really. I'm Bjarki. I work with Margaret in the fine art department, and I'm just very curious about an artist's presence at the United Nations. And wondering if you could reflect a little bit about sort of, you talked about observation and theater, and I'm very curious to know sort of, very conflicted and horrible time that we live in, and how, how do you see your role there? How do you communicate? Do you have output in the, in the environment there with diplomats, or are you using it and taking it and turning it into something else in your work? Or so I'm just curious if you could think a little bit with us about what that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, I haven't developing that, but I have a project at the moment. This is a very special project of our time. It's about peace now in UN. 1 year ago, I was in the main entrance with some diplomats, and I think, what is that? Is that a Chagall? When, there was a huge piece of Chagall in the first floor of UN, really close to the entrance, and I have been. It's close to the meditation room. It's a room very special because this is multi-confessional place, and there is a Chagall, and it's stair glasses of Chagall, and this is really interesting because the title of that artwork is "Window for Peace." It's peace window. Then the peace window of UN is broken. The peace window of UN of Chagall, a gift from the artist of '63 in memory of a Secretary General who died in helicopter in Africa. Then the peace window is broken. Then this is a metaphor of what is going on in the world at the moment. It's very unexpected in UN, And they said, we cannot do anything because it's not from a state. It's a gift from the artist, and we need to find some funders and having maybe a new way to repair it. And I said, I would like, as an artist observer, I can be an artist actor in the way of creating some links. And they said, okay, but you have to be supported by your country, and asking support to be focal point from your country. When I have been to, I met the ambassador of France in the UN, Mr. Desrivières, and he was, he thought it was important, and he said, you will be a focal point. And I came back to UN, and I said, no, I'm artist observer in permanent, but I'm a focal point for Chagall. And they said, okay, with all the departments, we'll talk about that. And they decided to make me as a curator of the repair of Chagall. Then you know there is 40 square in star glasses in this piece. And I imagine that it could be one donator for a square. Then I'm trying now to rebuild that artwork, and it will be done, I think, in April. But in the same moment, we decide with an agency which has scanned all Palmyre place, and they scanned all Palmyre after the terrorist destructions. Then we talked together, and recently they made the Vatican, all the scanning of the Vatican. They made a scanning of Venice, and we decided to scan the piece of Chagall. And the idea is to diffract in a numerical way with, circles, numerical circles, the presence of that piece, but outside of UN. And then I'm working in the sense of that way. But this is a project, but my situation as an artist is an active situation. When it has created some consequences with art work you have seen for COP21, for example. It's transforming me as a human, as a tool, sometimes try to be useful, and it's giving me energy to transmit to other artists that we are in capacity to involve artistic energy in not only for communicate, but to act. And this is the way art as action in the frame of that kind of initiatives.
One more question?
Someone want to ask something? Who? You? Yeah, Alexander.
Thank you for your talk. So the beginning of your story is a factory of light, of electricity. I have two questions about that. Where is many questions. Where is the factory exactly in France? And did you buy it, the factory? What did you do with the factory? Can we visit the factory? and why? Did you have and did you dig your ancestor? And did they have a link with electricity? And why are you so interested by the light? I know all the metaphor, all the symbol, but in your family, in the past, is there any link with electricity or light? That's my question. Very French.
Yeah. Thank you, because the patrimonial way of Ouest-Lumière is an ancient patrimonial way. Ouest-Lumière, from 93 to 1946, was really producing electricity. Then there was many factories. Then in the beginning of my activity, I thought to myself that it was very interesting to rebound after the name and the mark, maybe to have the property of that places, to transform it in a residency for artists. But this was really complex, and all that factories are in the west of Paris, and like Nord-Lumière, it was the north of Paris, Est-Lumière was, yes, south. Then I decided that the factories of Ouest-Lumière, new style, are the people. When I mentioned that I have 450 stakeholders, every apartments of that people are factories. They are producing and distributing artistic energy in their scale, and every people I'm connecting with energy of people, capacities, new capacities, involvement of energy is not the petroleum, but the energy, of that company. And for about the lights, my parents were star dancers when the lights were inside them, and I think I'm like a consequence of their activity, of course. And my godfather was a decorator in opera and in theater and cinema, and he transmitted something to me close to relation between creation and research. This is why I'm also a researcher in university, and I like the light of concepts. I like to work with other researchers, and in Sorbonne they spell me the Mr. Interdisciplinary, because I'm not only focused in my department. I was very involved in organization of my department, but now as I'm elected in academic council, when I'm much someone who tries to connect scientists with philosophers, artists with physicians, things like that. And this is really inspiring students, because they need that open mind. Not in our period, this is the only way to think differently and depolarize the world.
So we're just going to say thank you very much for attending and for your questions.
Thanks so much for your...
For Yann.